Patience, that's the name of the game, even when you're scalping. So today was definitely one of those days where it started off in this tight range. There was some news that broke up. And pretty much since then, we've just been in this kind of sideways range. So I'll zoom in here, and I have the lows down here near these lows. You can see over here where we broke out and failed. And up here, we have this high. We also had a range up here that we were working in for a little while. And this one was kind of funky to be like I'll show you when we get up there, but today was just one of those days where it started off really slow. I mean, there was one early trade right here just before 6 in the morning where you basically have this pullback. It tries to push up right there and then it pulls back. Now, it's a hidden second entry long, so you can definitely scalp this. The problem is it's still within this downtrend. And so you don't know for sure how this is going to go. It is possible that the downtrend was actually tighter. Sometimes the overnight hours can be a little funky, but I saw that as a pretty reasonable trade setup. You could also argue there's kind of a triple test right there. So reasonable. It then breaks up, and there's just no real entries up here. I mean, there's some stuff that you could maybe argue for, but none of it was perfect. I will make the case that there is a possible trade right here, but this is like it's a pretty low risk candle, 4 ticks, but it would have been pretty risky to take this just because of how it's set up. It was kind of a doji, so I'm just going to mark it in case you had a better signal bar. This higher low was reasonable because it's a first entry. Second entry, you then get this kind of higher low. You're still expecting a new high. So if you had a better signal bar there, I'd say take that. I'm going to remove it because it's actually not a good signal bar for me. It's kind of a doji. Doesn't finish in the upper third. Finally, after all this time, we come up here and we form this range. And you get a nice second entry long right here that engulfs this bar. I think you got to wait for this bar to close, but it ends up being a good one. Then it comes up, you get a second entry short. This one you could enter on the engulfing bar as a triple test. It's a little bit riskier if you do that, but it's also a little bit risky if you wait because it's so large. It's a 16 tick bar on a day like today. That's a pretty large risk, but it ends up working. And then it then goes sideways for a little while. It moves its way over here. And you can see that we have this downtrend break. You're expecting a new low on this downtrend. And then you actually get this one here, which ends up just giving you a nice first entry, second entry short that engulfs this bar. So you could enter this one on the engulfing bar, 1 tick below this bar, or you could wait for it to close. Either way works. If you wait for it to close, it's a little safer, but you end up with a little bit of a worse entry. Either way, you get a runner on that one. That's probably the best trade today. And what this was that even though it was a failed breakout originally of the range, at this point when this candle closed outside of the range here, I think you were expecting a new low and we were probably losing the range at that point, especially with how this kind of got stuck at the midline. So I do think if you wait for that to close, it is a safer trade. If you enter on the engulfing bar, it's a green. If you wait for it to close, it's definitely a red. Comes all the way down, you get a low here. Then you get this kind of higher low that is almost like a double bottom. So if you took a long there, it's probably worth the risk sometimes for some of those because it's kind of like this already played out when you get the double bottom. Better off to wait for a higher low, but you don't get a good one. Finally, it comes over. You kind of have this down channel that breaks, and now it makes a new low. So this one becomes a little bit riskier since you already made the new low after the break of the channel. However, it is a second entry short. It is only 5 ticks. It is very bearish. You could argue that it's kind of like a triple test here. Not really, more just like a double top. But I just think that that one is worth it, and I think that it's a red just because of how it's set up. You're expecting it at least to come down to this yellow line. Finally, it comes down, gives you another down channel, which after this break and the new low, this is just another leg down. And then this ends up closing outside and giving you a new low all at once. So you could go long there. Again, the higher low is better, but you don't get a good one. You get this bearish higher low, so you can't really take that. So that's a decent trade. And then you get this up channel that works. You get a close outside. You get 1, 2 legs to a new high, but there's not really a good short setup here because it's just a double top and an inside kind of bar. You don't get a lower high. Unfortunately, this doesn't give you a lower high. If this one ticked up and went down, then I would have said take that lower high, but you just don't get it. Then it comes down, you get a close outside, right here, the bullish bar. So this actually from the high is now a first entry long, pulls back, gives you a second entry long that engulfs this one. I took this trade because I was getting ready to record the video and I saw it set up. And I took this on the engulfing bar, one tick above this, because it's a fully red bar. So I took it there, gave me a nice solid entry, and you can see that that was a nice move. And if you took it on the engulfing bar, you might have got a runner here. I ended up just scalping out up here near these highs. And so and then I was done with that one. And then you get a close outside here. So this actually comes up. You get a close outside and a new high all right here, because I don't think that this channel. Yeah, I think that channel has played out, because this is basically like a close outside and a new high double top. So now we're just waiting to see here. There's kind of these levels of support and resistance that keep coming back into play. You can see that this range is still in effect. The midline is still somewhat reasonable, but we're just kind of bouncing here, and we keep on messing around with the support and resistance and flip-flopping. So it's a little bit of a challenging day in that way. You definitely have to be patient today to get some of these setups. There's probably going to be some activity this afternoon. I wouldn't be surprised with just what we've been seeing lately. So I wouldn't even be surprised if this thing comes up and makes a new high and closes on a new high, right? Going into the close today, I would really not be surprised to see that, because every time that it gets bought down, it just gets or it gets sold down, it just buys up so fast. These up moves have been a little bit sharper than the down moves, so I would not be surprised to see us come down, maybe get down into this zone and then reverse again. But you just got to let the price action tell you what's happening and go from there. So I hope everyone has a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.